Clerk, please call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3. J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Is Reverend Barber here? He's supposed to be on his way, but if he's not here, I'm going to call on Ron Bortel to lead us in our invocation, and then if you will please remain standing after the invocation for our pledges.
Thank you, Your Honor. You would all pray with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this another day that you've given us to be about your business. We pray that you be with this Commissioner's Court and all who have business before it today, that we would keep in mind the responsibility that we have to oversee the dealings of this government so that the citizens can live in peace and order. We ask your power and wisdom to be poured upon this court so that the decisions that can be made will be made in accordance with your will to advance your purposes. We thank you for all that you've done for us, and especially this beautiful day that you've given us today to make a difference. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ron.
Exactly the same reflection.
Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have two announcements as it relates to the agenda itself. The first one is under the Administrators section. Item A2, this concerns the usage of forfeited funds awarded to Tarrant County. There's a revised court communication in your red folder this morning. There was a slight error in transcribing one of the numbers. We've corrected that. Also, members of the court, under item 8F1, this is public health. We're going to ask that that particular item be held for 1 week. And then finally, members of the court, just to remind you that Tarrant County and the Tarrant County Commissioners Court is hosting the West Texas County Judge and Commissioners Conference this week. It's being held at the Hilton Fort Worth. I believe we provided you with credentials. It has actually started a little bit, somewhat last night. Registration is this afternoon and in the morning, and it runs through Friday. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Let me make one more announcement, too. If you'd like to come down and learn something, we have our county administrator on the Ask the Experts portion of Thursday's agenda.
You can tell that they were digging real deep for somebody, you know.
We appreciate you doing that, GK.
I appreciate Ron Bertell for always being the designated ram in the bush.
You have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of March the 18th.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of proclamations today. The first proclamation is on Migration Week, and I believe that Ms. Kirby Anderson with Catholic Charities, come on forward. Whereas the United States was born as a nation of immigrants striving for the ideals of freedom, justice, and opportunity, and whereas 1 out of every 200 people in the world at this time is in danger of being killed, harmed, or forcibly displaced while striving for these very ideals, and whereas Tarrant County has honorably welcomed many of these displaced people, giving them a safe place to start a new life for themselves and their families, and whereas Catholic Charities, Immigration and Refugee Services, has worked to empower immigrants and refugees in this community to begin their lives based on their new-found freedom, justice, and opportunity, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Tarrant County Commissioners Court, do hereby proclaim March 31st through April 4th, 2008, as Migration Week in celebration of our country's continued commitment to freedom, justice, and opportunity for all people, and in recognition of the many contributions made by newcomers to our community. In witness whereof, we have heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 25th day of March 2008. And I'll move its approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. The motion passes unanimously. Here you go. Give you a plaque. And make any comments if you'd like to make.
My name is Kirby Anderson, and I'm with Catholic Charities Refugee Services here in Fort Worth. And with me is Gabriel Wall, and he's actually another employee of our staff. And he is a refugee that's been in our country for almost 7 years, and he's from Sudan, and he just wanted to greet you and share a few words with you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good mornings. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Sudan, but now I'm from the United States. I am a citizen in the United States right now, so I'm under the law of the United States. So I love to be here and to appreciate you, to let people who are being devastated where they are welcoming to the United States. So I'm representing Catholic Charities and the refugees who are in Tarrant County. So I want to say thank you so much for hospitality and compassion for the people outside to come to United States, especially Texas or Tarrant County Hall. So for your invitation, there's nothing I can say than say how much we appreciate you as a Catholic Charities to get this opportunity to invite us and speak on behalf of Migration and Catholic Charities. Your support and your help you provide to Catholic Charities and rest of the community is really appreciated, and we recognize you. May God bless you, all of us in the United States and Texas too. Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Very much.
Thank you.
Let our Ask the Expert, okay. And I believe that they also handed out a packet for each one of us, and we'll look at that a little bit later on. Thank you all again very much.
I want to say to Gabriel, thank you for making this community your home. Thank you for helping others who were similarly situated to find opportunity here. We're a community with a big heart and lots of room to include others in our community family. So thank you for the work that you and Catholic Charities do to make that a reality.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. Our next proclamation, Commissioner Brooks, I believe it's yours.
I've got two proclamations for ratification only. One is to honor Irma Johnson Hadley for her years of service on the Tarrant County Hospital District Board of Managers. It's already been presented. And the other is to honor Bertha Bible, who is retiring from the county clerk's office. It will be presented soon. Move approval of both of those proclamations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have before you the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, under the Administrator section, the first item, we're requesting that the Court authorize county staff to conduct negotiations with Broadus and Associates in KAI, Texas, for project management services related to the 2006 Capital Improvement Program as it relates to both the new jail project and the Medical Examiner's Office expansion project. You might recall that we did meet with the Court last week in work session on this, and this is our recommendation at this time. This is simply to allow us to begin negotiations. We will bring a contract back to you if those negotiations are successful.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second You know, I still have concerns about the fact that it seems to me like we're hiring an architect who comes to us and talks to us about the expertise that they're bringing to the project for both the jail and the medical examiners. We're hiring a construction manager who, in their presentations, talks about the team of folks that they have with expertise in jails and medical examiner's office. And I still, while I do believe that we need to have a project manager that represents us, I really believe it needs to be someone who is on our staff. And I see the county having, at least in the next 10 years, we're constantly going to be building something, whether it be a civil courts building, a juvenile detention center, whether it be remodeling this building, whether it's Commissioner Johnson has a sub-courthouse that we're building. We'll be remodeling things. And I just feel like that we need to have somebody, and maybe it's a couple of folks, maybe there's one group of people who look at the plans and get the plans ready to go with the architects and the construction, and then there's another one who follows up and sits on the job site to make sure they build the plans or build the building according to the plans. But it just seems to me like we're adding a third consultant to this deal. It used to be we'd hire an architect, let them do the building plans, and then we'd hire a contractor to come in and do the building. And then we said, no, we got to bring these folks together at the same time because they're going to save us all this money. And I'm not arguing that that may not have been the case, because you had two disciplines there that needed to work closely together. But now it seems like we're injecting a third one in there, and we're saying, well, we got to have somebody to represent the owner. Well, that's what the architect and the contractors are supposed to be doing. And the project manager, if it was working for us, I agree. If there's somebody who truly every day knew their only allegiance was to Tarrant County, then I think that would be one thing. But when we throw in a third consultant, and I understand consulting, that's what my livelihood was. We're paying 2 and 3 times whatever person we have out here, we're paying at least 3 times what they're making to have that person on the job. And it just seems to me to make a whole lot more sense to have that person on the job and know that when this job is over with the expertise they know about Tarrant County, they're going to move on to the next job, and for 10 plus years they're going to be working with us and helping in that deal. So I'm going to vote against this just because I truly believe it needs to be somebody in-house.
What's the possibilities of getting staff to come back and talk with us a little bit about what Glenn just brought up? I agree, $25,000 a month for this position. We could hire, like he said, 2 people, probably, and still save bukus of money.
Commissioner, I might add, first of all, we're asking to negotiate a contract, and as relates to negotiation, actually, I believe they had initially quoted $20,000 a month.
So 25 on the back of the package.
$25,000. We intend to negotiate that number down and then bring that back to you for consideration. I don't think there's anybody on staff that disagrees with what Judge Whitley is saying. What we have always said, and I think Mr. Phillips brought it to the attention of the court last week in his organizational chart, that we will be hiring additional people in order to do some of the projects that we have. These 2 particular projects are fairly complicated projects. We've built jails before, and we understand how complex jails are. And we've always had project management from the outside when we've built our big jails. And they've been successful not only in building the jails the way we wanted them built, but to protect this court. What this does is it simply provides a consultant, if you will, or a contract employee, if you will, to be part of our team to meet with those architects, those engineers, to be on site whenever there's construction. And remember, this is 2 constructions. This is both the medical examiner's office and the new jail. The one thing that whenever we go with a company rather than an individual, is that you buy more than just the individual. You buy the experience of that company. That could be their estimators. That could be a level of expertise that they might bring on a particular topic, such as the medical examiner's office or the jail. And so you don't put all of your eggs in one basket with one employee. You buy the firm and the competence that exists in that firm. And so we know that, and we talked about it last week, that we're going to have to bring people on for some of the other projects. The only reason we're asking on this one here, and is just to negotiate, is because we believe that of all the projects that we've had in the 2006 bond package, that both the ME's office and the jail are the most complex, and those are the ones that we're seeking this project management firm for.
And I'd like to add to that discussion that having an owner's representative is not something new for Tarrant County. It's something we've always had. The architect, while we are paying him or her as a firm, is not the owner's representative. The architect is responsible to its shareholders, and it has a bottom line and other considerations that come before their responsibility to the owner. They don't represent the owner. They design buildings. Similarly, the construction manager builds buildings. They're not in the business of protecting the owner. They're in the business of protecting themselves. We need someone, either on staff or on contract, whose sole interest is protecting Tarrant County and its taxpayers. We've always had that. We've always had an architectural person who performed that function for us. It was always on a contract. I like GK's rationale that when you do this through hiring a firm, you're hiring the entire expertise of that firm and not just what any one individual might be expected to know. I think that this is a good deal for Tarrant County. I stand by my motion to move ahead with negotiation of the contract, and let's see what it looks like. And when it comes back, say yes or no.
Well, I mean, I agree with you 100% on the fact that the architect and the construction people hold their allegiance to their shareholders. But I'm going to tell you, I think that construction or the project manager does the same. If they were working for Tarrant County, if their check and their benefits and everything else came from Tarrant County, then that's their interest is to make sure Tarrant County sticks around. That project manager firm, their bottom line is to their employees and to the owners of that firm. We've already had to scale back the medical examiner's office and reduce the square footage because of increasing costs. We're already talking about that in the jail. And it just seems to me like a better use of the taxpayer dollars is to build and to put beds in that jail as opposed to paying for it with additional consulting fees that are not bricks and mortar or beds and lab tables. So that's the struggle I have. We keep adding consultants, but we're not building anything.
I understand the struggle, but we're going to have to do this one way or the other. Either we hire the expertise and put it on our staff and add that to our county overhead in terms of salary and benefits, or you pay it out on a consulting contract. I think the benefits of paying it out through consulting far outweigh adding it to our general budget overhead.
It wouldn't be our general
budget. Pay me
budget.
now or pay me later.
It doesn't have to be to our general budget. It can be on a bond type of a deal, and it's going to be for a 10-year.
Tax money.
Well, it's going to be tax money either way.
That's precisely the point. That's precisely the point.
But having had a firm where we were looking at professionals, and that's what we were billing, I'm telling you, we're going to pay more to the individuals that are on this job if we're paying for the overhead and the owner's share and everything else that's back at the home base than we're going to pay if that individual's on our own individual staff. And we've been talking about this, and I guess part of my frustration in this whole deal is that we talked about this as a court. We didn't come back and, in my opinion, make a firm decision as to whether we were going to go outside or inside. But we ended up interviewing folks, and it just was assumed that we were going outside. And I'm not sure we ever, at least in my mind, we never resolved the fact that we were going to go outside versus doing it inside.
I think you're completely right about that. We did not have we did not come to a resolution on that particular issue. But I think that if we sit down and negotiate a contract and bring it back to this court, we will then have information on which to compare and make an informed decision. Without knowing what a consultant will cost us, then we're just having a theoretical discussion. So I'd like to see us at least go forward and negotiate a contract so we'll know what we're talking about.
If we delayed action on this today and ask David and his group to come back with a recommendation going in the other direction, will that delay these projects?
Not for a week, no.
If you ask David to come back with a contract going in the other direction, why ask David? Just make the decision to go in the other direction.
Well, I can do that too.
Any other discussion?
What we're asking here is simply the authority to negotiate, not to enter into a contract.
But, you know, GK, the problem with that is that you're asking for permission to negotiate. But, again, we never made the decision as to whether we want to do it inside or outside. And so it's just one more step. And, you know, you keep getting us closer and closer to where we're going to make the decision to go outside, and that's or we're going to say, well, you're slowing the project down. And all I'm saying is that when we make this, we're going to cut the number of beds that we're going to have in the jail.
We brought to the court several times now the table of organization. In fact, we brought it last week again. There's no problem with us delaying this for a week to bring that TO back and once again explain how we would intend to go forward with it if the court would like that.
Well, if you're going to come, I'd like to know how you're going to go forward with it if we decide we're going to do it inside. Because I'm not sure we've ever seen anything that says, in order to do it inside, here's what we think we're going to have.
Okay, we will bring that back to you.
You can make that decision in a week.
David is off this week, so I'll need to talk with him. I'll call him and talk with him.
So at this point in time, do you want to pull back and wait?
I can count pretty good. I might as well withdraw my motion.
Yeah.
It ain't high or math.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the court approve the usage of forfeiture funds awarded by CCC number 4 to Tarrant County. You might remember that on January 29th, we brought to you, actually the purchasing agent brought to you a briefing item as it related to seized merchant gift cards from 17 different companies. The total on that was $36,950. You would ask staff to go back and to review how we might allocate those, and in your court communication, we have given you our recommendations on that. If you'd like, I could go over those. They were in your packet, and if you've reviewed them, again, staff is requesting approval to disperse according to your court communication. Board members, would you like me to go
I
over
don't
those?
have a problem with it. I move approval. of the recommendation.
I'll make a second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 3, this is good news. We're requesting that the court repeal the prohibition against outside burning in the unincorporated areas of Tarrant County.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 4, we're requesting that the court approve actually 9 contracts and interim funding for those contracts. It's for the fiscal year 2007 grant renewal from HUD. It's for the tenant-based leasing assistance program. These contracts have been structured to last for 3 months. Once again, we're in a situation where that the contracts or the grant application has not been totally finalized, and we expect that to happen. Whenever that does happen, they will reimburse us. Maximum reimbursement on this, or maximum expenditures to the county, is $228,000, and we do believe we are going to be reimbursed.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, finally, on item number 9, we're requesting that the court approve an agreement between Tarrant County and the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality as it relates to the funding FY 2008-2009 for the Local Initiatives Project under the LIRAP program. This will allow the county to access up to $714,848 for various air quality programs. What this is an umbrella contract. And if, upon approval, this will authorize us to develop programs, bring those programs back to court for your approval, and then submit them. I will tell you that one of the requirements on this program is that there is a 50% match, and that match can either be cash or in-kind contributions. And so we're not asking you to allocate that money now because we'll be bringing each one of those programs back to you. What we're simply asking for is for you to approve this agreement, which in effect allows us to go to access this money.
Now, as I understand this program, it allows us to help people fix their cars that
Not this program. That's part of the LIRAP program, and that part of the LIRAP program has been, its funding has been increased and the dollar amounts have increased. This program here there was excess LIRAP funds that were available, and the legislature in the last session through Senate Bill 12 authorized the expenditure of funds across the state or to those 16 counties where the extra money is collected, to take this type of money, this grant money, and use it for different programs. For example, the fictitious and counterfeit inspection stickers, the smoking vehicle issue, some programs that we're running in conjunction with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, those specific programs that can be funded. This does not negatively impact the vehicle replacement program at all.
move approval.
Did we include any amount of dollars in our budget to cover this?
Not at this time, and that's the one thing about this action today. This action today simply allows us to submit programs for this money. Those programs will be coming back to the court, and the court will have to approve that. And at that point, the point of submission, then we will identify what monies, if any, that we will need to offset that 50%. I'll give you a good example. The fictitious inspection sticker program, we may very well use deputies already assigned to the Sheriff's Department to do that enforcement program. We can use their salaries and vehicle expenses and overhead as an in-kind contribution.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Rock, looks like we're ready for some subrogation recoveries.
Yes, we are. We have 3 checks for approval for deposit with the county auditor today. The amounts are $6,497.97. $1,208.88 and $275.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Glenn.
Good morning. We have three items for the court this morning. Item number one, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. No discussion. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the county clerk's office. The county clerk is losing an associate clerk, too, at the end of April. This individual will be retiring with 400 vacation hours. This individual currently is the only clerk that is officed in the Northwest Sub-Courthouse. And so the county clerk would like to move as expeditiously as possible to fill this vacancy. The fiscal impact to the general fund is approximately $6,892.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our third and final item, we're asking the court to approve organizational changes to CDC 1 as well as the Sheriff's Department. CDC 1 is requesting the transfer of a Bailiff 2 position to the Sheriff's Department, Courts and Security Division, effective March the 25th.
How many of these bailiffs report to that judge?
There are two currently. This would just move one position over to the
If
Sheriff's.
this is going to assist the court and take away, eliminate a lot of time being used, recruit, hire, and schedule, evaluate, and so on and so forth, why don't we do them both?
I'm not sure why. Is this a vacant position?
It's currently vacant, yes.
It's I don't know why they're not moving both. The request today is just for.
Of course,
the
it's
transfer
not
of
a
one.
decision we can make, it's a decision the judge has to make. As I understand it, it's under state statute, but I guess my question would be, why not both?
I don't have the answer to that question, Commissioner. We
One
can
step at
certainly.
a time, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? You might
We
follow
can
up
go
and
back and
just
ask
see.
that question. We'll do
Yeah.
that.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Dean.
Beecham. How you doing? Come on down. You thought Miss Brewer was coming up next, didn't you? Well, you missed the hold for 1 week in Mr. Manius's report. So it kind of tricked you.
He doesn't pay any attention to what GK says, the expert.
If I wore a tie like that, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, his spots. You need a little spot remover there.
Moving right along.
You need to go ahead and start, or we'll keep.
We have seven
we'll keep
items for your
doing this.
consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-069. This is a bid for landscape project for the Fire Marshal's Building. Recommendation will be toward the low bidder, True Green Landscape, the amount of $17,984.64.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And I failed to ask for contract approval if approved, so I am.
That was included in the motion.
Thank you.
And the second.
And the second.
Our second item is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-068. This is an annual contract, the installation and removal of guard fencing. Recommendation will be toward Van Eli Incorporated on a per unit price basis.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-065. This is a bid to replace the existing Hirsch card access system and 12 readers for the Correction Center. Recommendation will be toward the Simplex Grinnell, the amount of $19,788.
What's the reason for this?
Just replacement.
Because they are outdated
Yes, sir.
technology?
Yes,
Because
sir.
they're broken?
Outdated.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-056. This is a new annual contract for the rental purchase of refurbished copiers. The recommendation will be to award to Neville Business Machines on a per-unit price basis and a discount for the manufacturer's list price.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 5 is an item in regards to bid number 2008-067. This is our annual contract for automotive and light truck transmission repair. We are recommending rejection of all bids and seeking permission to rebid with revised specifications.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our item number 6 is an item in regards to bid number 2008-074. This is a bid for Tarrant County Mineral Interest Oil and Gas Lease for 3 acres at the Southeast Sub Courthouse. We are recommending rejection of all bids and seeking permission to rebid.
When did we start bidding these in the first place? I thought we did these through negotiation.
We have to bid them all, but J.P. Morgan Chase is our agent on that, and on this one here, we need to rebid that piece. Statutes require that we bid all of our leases.
You know, last week I asked a question about these prices that we're negotiating
Yes,
and
sir.
getting. And I noticed that lots, not acres, but lots are also bringing in the $20,000+. Their share of an acre is based on like 20 or something $1,000. So small, I don't think is the reason. I'm not sure what it is, but
What happens, Commissioner, whenever you talk about a person's residential lot, they combine those lots. Most likely, you'll see a neighborhood association combine all those lots into a larger unit, and you have a multi-acre where they sell them all at one time.
well, isn't that in essence what's happening though on our smaller 3, 4, 5, and 6 acre tracts? Aren't they combining those with others to make a drilling site, like 40 acres or whatever is required?
The oil companies are doing that, but the combination of the residential lots, that's not being done by the oil companies. The neighborhood associations are banding together and getting all the neighbors to join together so they come together with a much larger piece of land than just
Maybe
a
Chase should
lot.
begin trying to work with our neighbors and see if we can't come together. I mean, it's amazing to me that neighborhoods have figured this out, and yet we're still trucking along here getting 10 to 14,000, and we're not working with our neighbors. I can't wait till we get our resource connection in there with 100 acres to see what we're going to make, because it's got to be great.
A lot of the determining factor in how much money you get on these deals is whether or not you've got competition between various drillers who want the same piece of ground. If there's competition, then you get a higher price. If you've got just one company that's interested in drilling in that area, then you're pretty well locked into what they're willing to do.
Unless that acreage that we've got is what they have to drill a well, then I think the bargaining might be a little bit slanted in our direction.
On this particular bid, we received only one response, and our logic for rejection was that only that one response, along with the fact that it was less than our anticipated revenue, which is exactly what you said.
Do we have a motion on this?
No.
I move approval to reject all bids and to rebid.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our last item, number 7, is an item in regards to RFP number 2007-109. This was an RFP for health risk assessment services. It was awarded by Commissioner's Court on August 7, 2007, to CoverTech Incorporated. We are recommending this morning cancellation of this award and are seeking permission to reissue with revised specifications.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Before I depart, I have a handout to give you this morning. Last week, there was between purchasing. Although we've had quite a few people out on spring break, we brought some numbers together to show you what our green purchases are from March 1, 2007, last year to March 2007 this year. We show specific categories. We also show revenue from the sale of recycled products. On the back page, feature initiatives. Commissioner Johnson, you asked a question also in regards to the shelf life of biodiesel. That biodiesel, just like regular diesel, should have a shelf life of 2 to 3 months in the tank. And we turn it much more rapidly. Now, our fuel purchases for diesel are made every 7 to 10 days.
Well, I understand in our tanks they
Yes,
are,
sir.
but in our equipment, they may sit for a month or so, that it's not being used on a particular job.
Sure.
So the shelf life is the same as these?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. This is good. I appreciate this.
Bet.
Has, under judges and commissioners, Commissioner Fickus has a interlocal agreement on. Has that been reviewed?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. I will say that Commissioner Fickus called to make sure that we were aware that he's on top of this interlocal agreement, and he's all supportive of it. He's really beginning to get cabin fever. I tell you, we're going to have to keep discouraging him from getting out too soon, because I can just tell he is antsy. I bet Kathy's having to club him.
Well, that's better than him coming up here and getting ill, so.
That's right.
Well, he wrote a very eloquent
It was a very good article.
article for the Sunday Star Telegram. We all appreciated it very much.
Yeah, it was very good. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 3 items for the court this morning. The first one concerns the annual employees picnic at Six Flags. Ms. Farmer is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here today to ask you to consider in the next few
You just think you are.
weeks. Huh?
Are
I
you
do
gonna-
have some pictures.
There you
Yeah,
go.
here we go. Here we go. I wanted to share with you what the family did last fall. Judge always talks about the fact that people, when they talk about why they love working for Tarrant County, it's because we're a family. And we had a family picnic last fall at Six Flags, and I thought I'd share with you some of the pictures of the families that you helped send, some interesting employees.
Did he
You
have
never
that
know.
shirt? Did he have that shirt on? But I mean, he had those sunglasses
Actually,
on
that's
because of the
mild
shirt.
compared to some of the shirts he's worn to previous picnic. And as I walked up, he gave me the thumbs up sign. So he likes those roller coasters. And he's not the only one. A lot of us do. And it's a great time. The first year that we did this, Commissioner Van Ravensway encouraged me to do it. And I thought I might have 250 people attend. And now it's 3,440 odd. And it's pretty exciting. We're going to looking forward to hopefully being on October the 12th. And you might recognize some of these folks. And we choose that time of year because it's cooler. And I just want you all to know that it's coming up. The prices remain the same, for which I'm grateful. The liquor license for Six Flags is still in limbo, so that's unknown what that will be. But considering the nature of the folks that come, I don't think it's going to be an issue. And we would look forward to having that opportunity again. I thank you very much.
Thank you. That is a neat thing, and I think it has continued to grow, and it is something that I'll constantly hear appreciation from folks about our willingness to do that.
Ms. Farmer, when do we need to have that contract?
Hopefully, it's going to be on next week.
Okay. So we'll be bringing a contract to the court next week as it relates to that. Members of the court, we could go to item B. This is a tax abatement request for Blue Cross Blue Shield. Ms. McMillan is here to address the court at this time.
Judge, Commissioners, I have two exciting projects to bring before you today. Both of these projects are located in the northeast section of Tarrant County in Commissioner Fickus's precinct. The first is a proposal by Healthcare Services Corporation, which is an entity controlled by Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they're considering the location of a new data center on approximately 50 acres in the Alliance Gateway Business Park. They would construct a 255,000 square foot data center, and it would serve as a backup to their Illinois center and also provide for new data storage due to growth. This would service the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. The company is expected to invest more than $155 million in real property improvements and anticipates the installation of more than $200 million in personal property value over the next 10 years. And as the slide shows, that is on the low end. It actually could grow to be over more than $400 million in personal property investment and $180 million in real property. Employment at the site is expected to be around 130 to 150 full-time jobs. This includes 80 employees who will actually be employed by Blue Cross Blue Shield in the areas of IT engineers and technicians and managers, and approximately 50 to 60 outsourced employees that would be in the area of security, maintenance, and IT support. The salaries are expected to be between $80,000 and $110,000 for the Blue Cross Blue Shield employees, and between $60,000 and $100,000 for the outsourced employees. As proposed, construction of the facility would start at in May of this year, and completion would be approximately in March of 2010. The City of Fort Worth has approved tax abatement for this project at a maximum of 50% for 10 years. This starts with a 40% base tied to the initial construction and personal property investment, and then provides for a 10% added abatement based on the use of local and disadvantaged businesses for the contracting. The hospital district is not being requested to participate in this tax abatement. Should Commissioners Court choose to participate, staff is recommending that we participate in basically the same terms as the City of Fort Worth, with a maximum of 50% for the 10-year period, starting with a base of 40% and allowing for the additional 5% to be earned for construction spending, for DBEs, and then an additional 5% for the use of supply services over the 10-year period in DBE usage.
What's their policies with regards to green building and initiatives?
When we talked to the Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we have a representative here who might want to address that, they are looking into that, and that is something that their company is looking into. It's just a little bit harder with a data center project because of the type of project has to be and the way they have to construct the data centers, use of water. It's a little bit harder to do a green building, a fully green building, but they want to make it as energy efficient as possible, obviously, because they will be using a lot of energy. So they are looking at doing that, but they don't know that they can actually totally meet LEED standards, but they will be looking toward that. Again, it would be capped at 50%. With this, an estimated investment of approximately $355 million, the personal, based on the current tax rates, the maximum tax abatement that they would receive would be 50% for the 10-year period. They could receive a total 10-year abatement of approximately $4.7 million from the county. And again, over that same period, the county would be seeing added taxable value of over $177 million to our tax rolls, and we could receive tax revenues from the unabated portion of the improvements of approximately $4.7 million also. And because Blue Cross is not requesting hospital district tax abatement, new revenues to the hospital district are estimated at over $8.1 million over the 10-year abatement term. Amy Gerber from the Stahlbach Company and Al Trotter from Blue Cross Blue Shield's Dallas office are here to answer any additional questions that you may have on the project. I'd like to have Amy come forward.
Judge and Commissioners, we would like to thank you for your consideration of our project. We have been working with Blue Cross Blue Shield for almost a year now, helping site this project here in Fort Worth. We looked at a number of states and even within the Metroplex looked at a number of cities, and really liked the Alliance site, and the potential for these incentives went a long way to help make the decision to locate in Fort Worth and Alliance. And we've really enjoyed working with the city and the county on the process so far. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer it. And as Lisa mentioned, we also have a representative from the company who would answer any questions you have as well.
Thank you. Any questions, court members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lisa, give them a timeline when they should expect.
We will be working with Blue Cross in the next few weeks to finalize the abatement agreement, and we'll be bringing that back to you in about...
So around the middle of April?
Probably.
Middle to the end?
Correct.
Okay.
The next project we have is Deloitte LLP, and they're considering the location of a new training center and corporate hotel to be referred to as Deloitte University. This will be located on approximately 100 acres, which is south of State Highway 114 in the town of Westlake. It will be approximately 750,000 square foot facility, which could include approximately 800 guest rooms, 3 dining venues, a ballroom, recreational facilities, and a spa fitness center, and multiple conference spaces and a business center. Deloitte University will serve as a central training and leadership development and innovation center for new hires, their senior leadership, and their key public and private leaders in the area. They expect to host up to $125,000 a year, but I've noticed that the revised figure maybe is probably more along the lines of about 40,000 visitors per year. They project spending in excess of $200 million on this location. With added real property value to the tax rolls for the building, of approximately $145 million, and personal property, which includes furniture, fixtures, and equipment, of approximately $30 million. Employment at the site is estimated to be 100 full-time Deloitte employees. This includes managers, trainers, instructors, planning, logistics, systems analysts, that type of area, and with the average salary about $75,000 per year. An additional 300 to 400 employees will be on site in hospitality-related positions, including security and maintenance, and will be hired and employed by a contracted management company. The Tarrant County...
Will those employees, those contracted employees, have benefits?
We don't know. Again, what they told us, they were looking on more of a Weston-type management company for the hotel type, but we're not sure. And that is why we have asked that they not receive hospital district tax abatement. So that is not being brought forward to the hospital district. Again, this would be fully taxes. All the taxes would go straight to the hospital district, just for that reason, because Deloitte at this point did not want to have to guarantee, because they don't know who the management company is going to be for those hospitality-related personnel. They can say what's going to happen with their 100 employees, but not with the 300 to 400 support personnel.
If they go to somebody like a Westin, I mean, is this going to be a Westin hotel that is going to be available 24/7 for other guests, or is it going to be restricted to strictly Deloitte folks?
Yes. It will not be a Westin branded hotel.
And I say Westin just because that happened to be the. But if it was branded by, you might come on. Why don't you come on forward?
Jonathan Isley is a partner with Deloitte out of their Minneapolis office.
It would be strictly for the use of our, and thank you, Commissioner, it would be strictly for the use of our people and other guests that we have there, as opposed to public use of the facilities.
So there will be no public use at all?
Not that we anticipate at this time. We would expect to perhaps make the facilities available from time to time to groups who may want to use them when we're not using them, but it really is an internal focused facility.
Then why not have all the employees be employees at Deloitte and pay them benefits?
Well, because we don't know how to manage and operate an operation like this. We're not in this business. This is something that is very new for us. We don't own buildings, we don't own land, and we don't manage lodging facilities and conference centers. And there are firms that are specialists in that kind of thing that we would expect to hire to manage it for us.
Well, then maybe we can put penalties for groups that you hire that don't have health insurance in our agreement.
And if that's something that the commissioners feel strongly about, we can negotiate that in the contract, that they had not wanted to have to be tied to what happened with those 300 or 400 employees. So they were only looking at the 100. If it's something we need to do, then we can make that part of the agreement.
Well, again, one of the things that we've done thus far is we've said we're not going to extend this abatement to the health network, to JPS. And then what we may discuss is the possibility of this, a part of being able to reach the 75% level might be, again, making sure that those folks employed on the facility or at the facility be, have some health benefits included with that.
Okay.
That's just a thought. I mean,
think-
that's something
right.
we can look at as we go forward.
In the material, and they'll probably talk about this a little bit later, some of the outside, this was not going to just be for use of Deloitte local, it was going to be your international sites also, too, and client firms. So
Okay.
it would be other people coming in from the outside, but that have ties to Deloitte in that.
And I'm assuming you made the statement when you're not using it. I mean, there is a need in that area, and I know you've got the Solana development up there, but there is a need in that area for conference facilities and for places to hold larger events, and that's something that I'm assuming, again, if it did not conflict with one of your seminars or training sessions, that would be available then for the communities or for some of the groups up in that area to use.
Yeah, we're certainly open to
And that's what your
considering-
management firm, again, you're saying.
Right.
And I understand what you're saying. Y'all aren't in the business of entertainment and hotels, and that's what you would be looking for from that standpoint.
I will say that this is one of the final locations, the Tarrant County Westlake site that Deloitte is looking at. And you asked about lead standards on the previous project. Deloitte has a Greening the Dot program right now that they work for in their program in their office area, and they have committed to look to make this a lead certified building. So, and that goes along with their Greening the Dot program that they're already very heavily involved with. As you know, the town of Westlake currently does not have property tax. However, they have, as in the past with Fidelity, and they have granted a 75% tax abatement for 10 years. Should, during that 10-year period, they ever enact a tax abatement, it would kick in and they would be abating at 75%.
That's nice of them. Let me ask this question. Even though it is a university, you're talking about managing it again by a hotel. Will there be any form of bed use or bed tax or sales tax that that your facility anticipates having to pay?
We would expect to pay hotel occupancy tax on, to the extent that there are people there that are not Deloitte employees. So potentially if we have outside clients come in and visit the facility, we would expect to pay hotel occupancy tax.
And to that point, as part of the incentives that the town of Westlake has proposed is to split that hotel tax and rebate at least 50% back to Deloitte, up to $100,000 during that time period.
Through the full 10 years?
I think so.
Yes, for full 10 years.
Per year?
Oh, $100,000.
So it could be $1 million.
Right.
Now, y'all have done the estimates, I know that. So tell me about what you're estimating. Whoever's got whichever one of you bean counters has the
This
spreadsheet.
is Scott Grisham from the Deloitte Dallas office, but as he's coming
I
up.
need help on that one.
As he's coming up, I will tell you what the town of Westlake is looking at doing is, in addition to the tax abatement, they've done an economic development agreement that would, again, rebate on a 50% 50 basis, the hotel taxes. They also will be looking at the Situs construction sales tax over that 2-year construction period and rebating 50% back to Deloitte also. And then there's the issue of a procurement company. And this came up early on where they would Situs all the sales through this procurement company in Westlake. And that would be substantial. And if that happens, they have committed that 75% of the sales tax would go back to Deloitte.
So you know my question to you.
In that case, it would be about $4 million. If they did that with the procurement company, we estimate that it would be just under $6 million in incentives. However, if the procurement company is not something that Deloitte decides to move forward with, then we're only looking about $2 million in incentives. And if we go ahead and as requested, they have requested a 75% tax abatement from the county, and I have proposed to start with a 60% base and then have 15% bonus abatement tied to specific criteria, and one of them can be the health care benefits for the 300 to 400. But we would cap it at 75%. If we do 75% and they met the 75% range for the 10 years, our total abatement would be about $3.5 million over the 10-year period.
And you're saying Westlake's would be either 2-point-something or 6-point-something?
Correct. So, and I'll let Scott Grisham, who's our numbers guy, talk a little bit more about how they've looked at the incentives.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Scott. Thank you. Appreciate that. Again, it goes back, you know, at least my question is, we try as we enter into these agreements with the cities to be sure that we don't have more in the deal than the cities do. And Westlake presents a unique challenge in that they do not have the property tax. And so we're looking at what other taxes and contributions that they're making, and Lisa's outlined it. So one is that question about the occupancy tax or the bed tax.
Right. And our estimates on the hotel occupancy tax benefits there are based on about 140,000 room nights total. That would be Deloitte and non-Deloitte people, and we've estimated approximately about 15% of those room nights would be the ones subject to tax, resulting in about $1 million of benefit over a 10-year period to Deloitte. The one-time sales tax revenue share from the construction contract, sharing in the sales tax for the materials going into the project, and also the furniture, fixtures, and other equipment. Our latest estimates, that's actually closer to about $2 million. And then again, we do, even though Westlake doesn't have a property tax, in our analysis of incentives, we do take into consideration, and in comparative purposes, look at that as 100% abatement in comparing to other municipalities. So we do value that, even though it's hard to really put a number on it since they don't have the tax.
So your basis in this project is getting thinner and thinner.
Well, there's still a little bit of building cost there.
There's a lot of cost.
Okay.
And then again, the procurement company would be a substantial benefit should we choose to pursue that.
And you're located, I guess, west of the Fidelity sites. Is that correct?
Yes. And the southern border is right on Dove Road.
Okay, that's the this area down here is those houses or those roads you see down there. That's Vaquero.
That's Vaquero.
That's the reason why Westlake will never have a property tax. As long as there are more people who live in that area than live outside of that area, you won't have to worry about a property tax. Then that's Dove Road right above that to the north, and then your property. So you're proposing that your properties would go, or your buildings would go in which track?
Well, we're largely proposing to buy the what would be 1, 2, part of 4 and part of 3, and the buildings would be kind of in the center of that.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
This was the initial site plan, and they have refined, I don't have the most current, it was actually done last night for the final reinvestment zone to actually get down to the site plan. So when we come back, we'll have a more definitive area, but this was a general area, and they're purchasing the property from Hillwood, and they had to, they will be, if they choose this location.
In the estimates that you had on there, you had one that you said went from 125 down to 40. I think.
Well,
Mr. Duff
I think what's happening there is we're estimating about 140,000 room nights.
Okay.
But average stay for a person might be 3 nights, so it ends up being 40,000 people.
In the initial information they sent us, they had said up to 125,000 visitors per year, but I think they kind of refined that down a little bit to 40,000.
I see what you're saying now.
But that was the initial, when I wrote the staff report, that was the initial information that had been provided to us in the abatement application.
Okay.
Again, the town of Westlake just finalized their agreement on this, and so this is kind of moving on a fast track because Deloitte's trying to make their final decision. There were a couple of other Tarrant County locations that they were looking at, and one in particular, and I do know, I think that because of the difference between these two sites, they took into account that there wasn't a tax in Westlake, and that was like having 100% tax abatement. So I do know, I had been working with both communities, and I know that they were looking at 2 locations. This is moving on a little bit faster track. Westlake just had their meeting last night, but they asked us to go ahead and bring this to you for briefing to get an idea of where they stood on this project so they can start making some, try to finalize their decision.
Well, and again, Commissioner Fickus relayed his support for both of these both of these abatements, and was interested in some of the questions that we posed today. But I mean, I think that. So you're looking at possibly bringing this back next week?
No, there's no way.
Week after that?
In 2 weeks, we'll have to work. If that's possible, we're going to have to make some changes, and we'll have to talk about maybe some of the difference in that between that 60 and 75. So I'll need to work with the company on that to negotiate a little bit of that. But we will try to bring the agreement back in 2 weeks. Again, they've asked to try to move forward.
Well, and again, I think if we set that from just personally, I like the fact that you're looking at the LEED certification, and it may be that you give them multiple options that would get them up to, if they got all of them, they couldn't go above 75, but there might be that, the fact that you're not asking for the abatement from JPS helps me a little bit on the insurance for those 300 to 400. But I have the same concerns that everyone else here does. We need to be very careful about incentivizing folks to come in here that are not providing health care benefits for the employees. And I know that's out of your control, but again, I would think in most of the major chains that you're going to be talking with, they would be providing those benefits.
Commissioner, that issue is just one in which we're just a long way away from talking to those operators, and so we just didn't understand and still don't how they conduct their business.
Okay.
So we will be coming back in approximately 2 weeks, and we will have an agreement at that time. And again, we can discuss this. If it's not where we need to be at, we can refine that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Your Honor, that's all we have this morning.
Okay. At this time, we will, the Commissioners' Court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under Sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.